and try. Since '85 we've stood our ground, though trophies passed us by. From Craven Park to Wembley Way, with East-Hull grip we fight. Now we rise, our heads held high, proudly wearing the red and white.
The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are reputable East-Hull-based car specialists and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers Forever members. The Robins are flying high after a resounding victory of the Catalan Dragons down in Perpignan. To help me look at the big moments, the big players and what it means heading into the business end of the season is Robin Pod regular Bazza Kingston. Our attention then turns to round 20 and a showdown with relegation-threatened Salford. We're joined by special guest and Salford Red Devil supporter Matt Timms to get a view from the other side of the M62. Expect opinions, predictions, and maybe a bit of friendly banter. Injury updates, team news, and all the latest from Sul Group, Craven Park and beyond. It's your essential weekly fix of all things Hull Kingston Rovers. This is the Robin Pod. Bazza, welcome to the Robin Pod. It's been a few weeks since you was last on. How are you keeping?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for having me back on. As you can see, I'm not in my lorry tonight. I'm slumming it at home, so we're back in my lorry tomorrow, living my best life. But yeah, all's good, mate.
I'll tell you what, I bet you're the boss's dream for overtime, aren't you? I bet you can't wait to get in that lorry.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to get out of it, to be honest with you, some weeks, kid.
I bet your biggest nemesis is the tachograph. If it weren't for that, I bet you'd be out all the time.
Mate, I don't know. 15 hours a day, it's enough for me, kid, especially when I'm maxing it out.
I'll tell you what, though, I hope your lass isn't listening.
Salaried, mate, makes no odds.
Matt, great to have you on the Robin Pod, of course, Salford Red Devil supporter. We're going to talk about the game on Thursday night very shortly. I'll tell you what, before we go into the Robins and the game against Catalan, just give us a bit of an overview of, in your opinion, what's happening at Salford at the moment and what the hope is and what your expectations are right now.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Jono, as well. Really appreciate it, mate. Yeah, thanks for giving us a shout and getting us on. Appreciate it. It's been a bit woeful this season, hasn't it? I mean, I remember sort of looking back to February time, I think, when the deal was initially announced, and quite hopeful because I remember at the time the statement that was put out talked about influxes of money and marquee signings, and it's been the absolute opposite of that. I think all we've seen over the last sort of 6 months or so, 5-6 months, is the bleeding of the team and players going and joining other clubs and yeah, it's been a really tough season. And you know, the league table doesn't lie. We are where we are. There's a lot on the field and off the field that's going on at the moment. I mean, in terms of where we are right now, I think looking at the last few performances from us, a hell of a lot more pride than at the start of the season. You know, we were getting tonked at the start of the season, and probably a few question marks over players looking bothered when they were playing. To be really honest, but I think as we've come into the second half of the season, that's kind of when we've started to look a little bit more sprightly and have a bit more about us. We looked good probably from the Warrington game, and then took that form into the win against Castleford. I think towards the end of the season, looking probably past KR, to be really honest, and we'll get into that in a bit. We've got a couple of games coming up that are a bit more, what I would say, a bit more winnable for us. We've got Catalan at home, followed by Huddersfield away, so we've probably got a bit of chance to maybe get a couple more points on the board, maybe 4 max. I'd like to see us get to 8 to 10 points, Jono. I think that'd be a decent position for us to be in, given where we are at the moment. And we'll just have to see next season. You know, IMG and all the kind of stuff that's going to decide promotion and relegation is not done and dusted. The leagues haven't voted to go to 12 or 14 yet. There's so much still up in the air that needs to be decided, I think, before we can start to go, we're absolutely totally resigned to not playing in the top flight next year, or maybe being saved by the fact that there's a league expansion. But I think the bottom line of it all needs to be, if we're going to play in Super League next year, this money that we've been promised for the last 5 months needs to materialise, and there needs to be a debt write-off to keep us anywhere near sustainability in terms of IMG scoring this season. Otherwise, we're going to come to November, we're going to have the finance score we had last year, but our performance score will drop because of we'll have 3 years ago we'll come off and we'll have a 12th place finish going on, which will probably take us right down towards where Toulouse are in 13th place at the moment, or very, very close to that. So there's still so much up in the air at the moment, mate, that it's really hard to say where we're going to be and where we're going to be playing next year.
Yeah, Bazza, I mean, there's a bit of synergy. I say what, we're going to talk about Catalans very shortly, and of course that great result for the Robins over there. I feel there's a little bit of synergy between the Salford situation in terms of investors coming into the club, it then not materialising, and then people left wondering what's going to happen. The synergy for me is around the NRL Europe, in inverted commas, you know, at the start of the season and then into maybe the first third of the season. All the big talk was NRL buying Super League, you know, putting money into the game, that it's going to be NRL 2, it's going to be blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, we've got Nigel Woods now who's been brought back into the RFL. We've got a 14-team competition. We've got what we're supposed to be going down the route of IMG gradings. And it just feels like the synergy between Salford's situation and the state of rugby league, Super League, is quite similar, because we're all left guessing what actually is happening. Nobody knows. And for me, my biggest bugbear is around rugby league in our country. We spend so much bloody time talking about the governance, the organisation, the future of the sport. Every other sport is talking about the product on the pitch. And we're not. We're talking about bloody things that are happening in boardrooms and meetings and stuff. It shouldn't be like that. And it just feels like another season of what we're going to get next season. And right now, Bazza, you don't know, I don't know, what is the makeup of Super League next season?
No, it's you're absolutely right there, Jono, and it is in synergy with Salford. Like how hard it must be for a Salford fan right now, not knowing what's around the corner. But as a rugby league fan in general, it's an absolute nightmare. Like, are we going to get this? Are we going to get this investment in from the NRL? Are we going to get this new TV deal? I think it's hard for us as fans to know what's around the corner, but it's also hard for the club owners. Like I know it's only just been announced that the quota spots increased, but that was only as of the last couple of weeks we've known about that. So I feel like they're making it up as they go along. And you can't, end of the day, Super League, it's the entertainment business, and you can't plan a business on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, making it up as you go along. There needs to be a solid plan and a solid structure in place moving forward, where clubs can look and plan beyond 26, 27, because clubs like ourselves, Wakefield, Leigh, every club likes to have like a 5-year plan and a goal to work towards. Now, how can any club work towards that goal if the rules or different plans are being put in place year in, year out? So you're having to go away from your original business plan. So I think the RFL needs to be a little bit more clear. The Nigel Wood appointment, I'm on the fence about that. We just want a clear direction of where we're going and everybody pulling in the same direction, because I think with 𝗀𝗂𝗃, one thing they've prided themselves in is everybody in the environment of 𝗀𝗂𝗃, everybody's pulling in the same direction and it works. And now I feel like in rugby league, it's just not happening like that, because there's that many rumours floating about again with the French teams. Are they going? Are they staying? Is Bradford coming in? Are we bringing London back? Is IMG going? Nobody seems to know. We just want a clear direction of what's happening for everyone involved.
Yeah, let's go on to the on-field matters. Matt, Catalan, it's a funny old season for them, hasn't it? Yeah, I mean, they made some big investments at the start of the season, ready for this season. They've not really come off. Players like Tariq Sims, he's not then followed through in the second season. Change of coach and Steve McNamara. It's a bit. We're not used to this from Catalan, are we? Because they're normally a side that is always challenging, and they look an absolute shadow of what they've used to have been.
They're having a. I don't know what I don't know what's going on with them this season. And I think it tells a lot with the dismissal, if you will, let's call it that, Steve McNamara. I think there's total disarray, probably a little bit on and off the pitch there. Not to the extent that we're under, but definitely to a different extent. Yeah, because their recruitment, I don't think, was necessarily that bad in the off season last year either, was it? You know, they brought like the likes of Pangai Jr. and I think, didn't they, in the off season last year? So I don't think you know, you look at their paper on squad and it's a strong enough squad to compete and certainly make the playoffs. Really, if you look at the quality that they've got within their 17, you know, the starting 17, and even a bit of depth in the background as well. But you know, it's kind of like when there's just been a little bit of a couple of odd moments, things like them letting Arthur Moore go to KR and stuff like that earlier on in the season. That's struck me as a bit of an odd move, where it happened in the season and sort of like where they went after that, because I think they were gambling a little bit on Tompkins being a regular and being fit for the remainder of the year. But I don't necessarily he's fit. He's not a like-for-like replacement for Arthur Morg, though. And then you look at the likes of 𝗲𝗄𝗄𝗃. He had a really good spell actually when he came into the team, but he's gone a little bit off the boil as well now. So yeah, they're a team in disarray. I think it's going to be a really challenging time for them, and I don't think it's only just next season either, because I think Joel Tompkins has got the gig now on a permanent basis, hasn't he? So
yeah, so I'm staggered. I'm absolutely staggered that was the decision. I know they've got Mitchell Pearce, Mickey McAloram's obviously Kings Rose player, Bazza. You know, he's going to be part of the coaching setup, but that is a roll of the dice, isn't it, Bazza? It is an absolute roll of the dice to make that conundrum come together and be a cohesive team. You know, they're talking big about recruitment again. Catalans haven't really suffered from being able to recruit good players because look where they are. You know, there's a reason Mickey McAloram lives in the south of France. There's a reason Sam Tompkins lives in the south of France. There's a reason why Luke Keary wanted to not be retired and come on. You know, it's a great place to live and play. So they've never struggled with recruitment, but it just feels like this latest appointment, just, I don't know. It's a big roll of the dice. It's a big gamble.
I definitely think something's not right there. I mean, if anybody's not had the pleasure of seeing it, if you tuned into Soap League Raw, there was an exclusive interview with Steve McNamara.
Yeah, great interview. Really good. Yeah.
What an insight. I feel like there's more to what's going on at Catalan behind closed doors. I feel like they've invested that much and they've probably lost that much on signing Australians and New Zealanders over the years. They're having to try and recoup some of the money. So I feel like they're going for the cheaper route at the moment, hence why they're signing Joel Tompkins on for 2 years and bringing the likes of Mickey Mack in, because them guys love it out there. So they won't be demanding a massive salary like a top NRL coach. So I think they're just trying to do things on the cheap, although they have announced a signing today from the West Tigers, which looks a pretty decent signing for them. But overall, they should have been challenging, I dare say even top 4 this year, but something just isn't clicking there, and whether it's true that they have the little clicks with the Australian group of boys, the French group of boys, and they're not all as one what you see like at our club. Maybe that has a big part to play with the language barrier and whatnot. But yeah, it's not right there, and I don't know if Joel Tompkins is the man to take them forward.
No. Right, let's get onto the field then, because we're talking about disarray. The Robins took full advantage, Bazza, didn't they? An absolute... Do you know what? It was a great game to watch. And before we talk about the game, actually, what I want to do is, give great praise to our fellow Robins. I think it was a record attendance, or a record away following. at that game in terms of how many opposition supporters were there. I think the official figure was something like 1,700, but that doesn't take into account how many Rovers supporters then bought tickets through the Catalan Dragons and you know, Carl Smith, who comes on the Robin pod, he was there. They said it was literally a sea of red and white in Perpignan, of course, Laurette de Mer, where typically a lot of Robins fans go. But it did fall at the right time in terms of the first week in school holidays. But we've already had to shell out a lot of money, this season. Semi-finals, Challenge Cups, finals, money for Vegas, and then they're still backing the Robins in massive numbers. Going to Perpignan, you're still looking at £500 per person, aren't you? Let alone spending money. It's a massive commitment, and to see such massive numbers, I do think as well, the players rose to that. They saw the support, and that inspired them, Bazza, and it was great to see. And do you know what? Every single supporter went to Catalan. Hats off to you. Massive round of applause, because I think they made the difference.
Yeah, well, on telly, mate, it was incredible. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, but I paid for my daughter to go have a week in Lorette and get to experience it. And again, £600 for my daughter to go and experience it. And she had the time of her life, but seeing it on the TV, it was incredible. I mean, the only time I've seen it packed out like that was literally, I think it was about a month before when Lee turned up there and they filled it out. But on last week, it was just a sea of red and white. And on the telly, it sounded like it was Craven Park.
Yeah, it was like an home game, wasn't it?
That loud. And like you've just alluded to, Jono, the players really rose to it and give them that extra push. And it just shows how far we've come, that we're with our team through thick and thin. You know what I mean? It's great to see.
Yeah, I mean, let's go to the team news, because obviously we knew 𝗀𝗲𝗏 won't be playing, HIA, and then a one-match suspension anyway. So regardless, he wouldn't have been playing. The big news, though, wasn't it, Bazza? Elliot Minchella not included in the lineup. Willie Peters talked in his pre-game press conference about how they've rotated players. And I think what was clever, he said also, sometimes you don't realise how we're rotating players. We don't advertise it. So if you think Minchella now, going into the next game against Salford, he'll almost have had a good 2.5 weeks off. And he's a gamble, though, as well, wasn't it? Because it was a big game for the Robins in terms of the couple of defeats that they suffered against Leeds. But to rest your captain's always a massive gamble. But it is a gamble that paid off. And Minchella now, he will be coming back absolutely firing on all cylinders, because it's the trust that Willie Peters has in him. And it's also that thing of, right, you've been rested, now you've got to go. That is it. You're done now. You've got to go to the end of the season, full pelt. And it's a great relationship that they've got. But I was surprised. I didn't expect it. And to be fair, there's no talk of it, was there?
No, and I won't lie to you, mate, my head fell off a bit when I didn't see his name there. I know Adley will do a job for us. Bloody hell, if you put Dean Adley on the wing, it'd still do a job. Is that reliable?
I'll tell you what,
incredible.
If the bus driver fell ill, I'd get Dean Adley in to drive it.
Yeah, he'd probably drive it, but no. I just kept saying to myself, no 𝗀𝗲𝗏 and no Mini. And I'm like, is this going to be our day? Then I remembered back in 24, at our place when we rested Mini for that game against Catalan, and we put Whitbread at 13, it didn't quite work out. So, I was a little bit nervous after seeing that. And I think that's, like, with our record across there, I don't think people actually appreciate how much it means and how much of a big win it was for us. Going across to France and getting that win, because our record across there is horrific, and especially with having our captain out and the England hooker out, it's a big loss, but we still managed to get the job done, and that for me it went under the radar of what an important big win it was. I mean, us Rovers fans know what it meant to us, but I don't think the outside world of rugby league don't know, because we've had it that bad across in Perpignan for so many years that we needed that to get that monkey off the back, and at the right time as well. It was an incredible display.
Yeah, I mean, 2019 was the last victory there. It's almost like
Yeah.
the Robins have got this checklist of ticking off milestones and like, you know, one was going over to the Northwest, wasn't it, and not being able to come away with a victory against some of the top teams. We've ticked that off, but you know, so I do think they've got an imaginary tick list that they are ticking off, but they'll never admit it. I mean, when you look at some of the players we've got, Matt, I mean, like Bazza just mentioned, the fact you've got ·�𝗲𝗏𝗏, who's our star hooker, really. You've got 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗃, who's the captain, missing. Being able to not have them two players in the starting lineup and then still come up with a not just a victory, but an absolutely convincing victory shows that the Robins are, I think, just a well-oiled machine. And I think I think that the two defeats that they had was a bit of a rude awakening. But I think them teams caught us at the right time. I think we looked tired. Interestingly, you'll know with Matt as well with Salford, it's always like teams are always trying different approaches going to Catalan, aren't they? Like, do they go on the day of the game? Do they go to a day before? Do they go 3 days? Like the Robins this time, they went a couple of days before and did actually the captain's run in 𝗵𝗵𝗃 and did it over there and spent a little bit more time. But it's so hard when the play. But what I'm saying is that the players that we had missing against another side, we could have come a cropper. But I felt this was an important game for the Robins, and they came out on top.
There's mega strength in depth at 𝗀𝗂𝗏𝗏 this season. I think, not to blow too much smoke, I know I'm on a 𝗀𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏 podcast here, but
no, keep doing it. Blow as much as you want.
I'm not going to do it about Salford that much this year, so I've had to do it somewhere, haven't I?
I'll tell you what, you can blow as much smoke as one of them old blokes who's in his car and he vapes, and you see this puff of smoke going like it's. That's how much smoke I want you to blow.
𝗀𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏 are probably playing the best rugby league in Super League this year, and I think it's probably I think there's probably one or two who are close, and then I think everyone else is miles behind in terms of the quality of the rugby league that's being played, and the strengths in depth. I think, when you look at the options that you've got, where you've got like a utility man. I'm going to call him a utility man, someone like Broadbent who can slot into anywhere, and not just do a job in any of those positions, but probably be a really good standout player in any of the positions across the back row. And there's just so much. You've been missing 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 for a bit, haven't you? But you've not looked like you've been missing 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 for a bit because of the fact you've got the strength and depth and quality to sort of plug those gaps and to make it look like the 17 that you're putting out or your 13 that you're putting out is your first choice 13, irrespective of irrespective of who's playing. Sorry, and I think that's a massive credit to. I think it's a massive credit in terms of the recruitment. I think it's a massive credit in terms of Willie Peters and his coaching staff as well, because I think you've got schemes set up to play that players are interchangeable within those schemes, and you will still be able to perform those schemes really well against teams. I've kind of gone on record, and Baz is going to shake his head when I say this, but I think the league leaders is coming to Craven Park, and it's just a question then of whether the grand finals as well. What I would say is, because I thought this before when you were talking about dropping those 2 games, you want to drop those 2 games now rather than in the playoffs. So if you're going to lose 2 games in the season, have that bit of a kick up the backside, do it halfway through the season, and push on for the rest of the season, keep going, and then put teams to the sword in the playoffs, because that's how you're really going to make a mark. But I think KR have been playing some absolutely champagne rugby this season.
I'll tell you what, Matt, I'll stick with you, because one player who did come on and absolutely did make a difference against Catalan was Sam Luckley. Now, I remember when we signed him from you guys, and if we're honest, Bazza, the expectation was he'd be a backup player, a good squad player. If you called upon him, he'd come in and do a good job, but you can't really see him start, and you can't see him being a regular in the side. Well, for me now, Sam Luckley is one of the linchpins of the side. I mean, on YouTube, Rovers do behind-the-scenes footage. Sam Luckley is the one who's delivering the pre-match speech on the pitch and firing it into the guys. He did a famous one at the Challenge Cup final. And Sam Luckley absolutely has embraced the Robins. But I didn't expect it, Matt, and I don't know, did you expect him to have such a big impact that he's having at the Robins after his time at Salford?
Probably not. I mean, a good, powerful forward, but I think we picked him up from Newcastle, if I remember rightly. I think he'd had a few years at Newcastle before we picked him up. I think he played, was it just over a season? Made something like 25, 30 appearances, I think, didn't he, for us? A good forward and did well for us. But yeah, I think he's just come on leaps and bounds. He's played for you like nearly 80 times, I think, hasn't he, in the last over the last 3 seasons or something daft like that. So yeah, surprised, but happy for him. I've been happy, to be honest, like watching anyone who's kind of left us go and have successful seasons. Maybe not this season with some of the players who've left us and some of the circumstances in which they've left us this season. But, looking around the league and, I was always, going back to, a former old boy of yours, I was always a big fan of 𝗫𝗏𝗋𝗋, and I know he did a good job for you guys when he was over in Eastall. So I'm always happy to go and see a player from us go and turn out good performances for someone else, because it means they've had a good bit of coaching elsewhere as well.
Yeah, sad to see 𝗫𝗏𝗋𝗋, of course, on Robin. He's now out for the season.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had he seemed to buzzer at Rovers, get a good streak of games, but now he's at other clubs, and previously that sort of injury record is now coming back to bite him.
Yeah, I mean, when we signed him, everyone kept saying when we got him from Cass that basically he's made of glass. You won't get a full year out of him, and it was a waste of a signing. But when we did sign him, I think he went pretty much through the full 24 with one injury, and I think that injury was only an HIA, I believe. And we had a real good year out of him. And then start of this year, I think he went off for an HIA against Salford, I think, second, third game of the year. Unfortunately, that was his last game for us. But as for injuries, it was absolutely fine with us. And then he went to Huddersfield, and I think he lasted about 15
debut,
minutes.
Wasn't it? He got injured.
I think he lasted about 15 minutes against Salford. And and the lad, honestly, it never rains, it pours, and he's had it really, really tough since he's left us. I'm probably gutted for the lad, to be honest with you, Jono.
Yeah. I mean, a player who scored 2 tries against Catalan, and he's we know all about his attacking qualities. I think he still comes up with some errors that are just unexpected. But 𝗀𝗲𝗋𝗁, when we signed him from the Robins, of course, he'd been a sort of inverted commas, suspended and then sacked or released. Was he a player that you'd like to still see around at Salford? Because 𝗀𝗲𝗋𝗁, no doubt, is a real firm fans' favourite at the Robins right now.
I think he was with us as well. Yeah, I've got a lot of time. I think he played for us in our 150-year season, I think, didn't he? I think it was 2023. I think his season with us. And I really enjoyed seeing him play. I was actually looking back over some highlights of when he played for us the other day.
Bloody hell, you got a lot of time on your hands, you, haven't you?
I like to do my research, mate, especially when I'm coming on the rival podcast and I know I'm going to be asked about someone who's played for both. But yeah, I was going back and having a look, and yeah, he was a good player for us. I was reading up actually about the fact he'd signed a longer-term deal and then still he left, because I think he'd signed a 3-year deal when you guys signed him from us in the end of 23 to the start of 24. I like watching him though. I like watching 𝗀𝗲𝗋𝗁. I still like watching him now. He still looks like a classy player, and he still looks like he can beat a winger on his day, doesn't he?
He's always got a finish. He loves a finish. Do you know what? In hindsight, I wonder, not just specifically that deal, but was that the unraveling of the money, that like the fact that they could offload a player who potentially could have been on decent money, and it was an opportunity to get, we don't know, but I when I look back now, I wonder if that was because why would you want to lose a player of that quality if the rumours are true, on a pretty promiscuous reason to let a player go? It wasn't exactly,
It was definitely around that time. The one that sticks in my head was Brodie Croft to Leeds, because I think he just signed something stupid like a 20-year deal or something like that, and then he was gone within 12 months of signing it. Him and Andy Ackers. That to me was like that. There was warning signs beforehand, but there was an absolutely siren going at the point that we let Croft and Ackers go to Leeds. I think that was really the start of it unravelling.
Yeah. I'd say, let's go back to the Catalan game, Bazza. great to see Mikey Lewis back in the red and white, but not only back in the red and white, absolutely loving his rugby league. Just you look at his involvements in the game, 2 tries, 1 assist. I mean, 17 tackles, attacking kicks 11, carries. He had 17 carries, kicks in general play 18. He was just front and center of everything that was good about the Robins, and he looked so happy, thriving. That's the Mikey Lewis we love and we expect now, really, let's be honest.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. It was like a kid in a playground, wasn't it? You know, it was back to enjoying himself, big smile on his face. It felt like he had a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a point to prove, but, you know, maybe he felt like he'd let a couple of the boys down. So he just wanted to put a couple of wrongs right. But it's not only that. With Mikey's display, we actually saw how well Tyrone works alongside him, because Tyrone, again, he was another player sort of went under the radar in that Catalan game. It was unplayable, drifting across the line, and we saw the best of Tyrone, and we saw how well them two work together, you know, the yin and yang. So, obviously, not only was it a positive having Mikey back and more so playing with a smile on his face, it was good to see Tyrone playing his game as well with Mikey on his opposite side of the half. So it was needed. We've missed him. He left a couple of tries out there, which I dare say he'll look back and want his time again with a knock on over the line. But no,
hey, I'm not having that knock on. No way. In any other Super League era, that is a try in it. Like the fact that the video ref picked up that, like, yeah, I'm sick at that. But it didn't come back to bite us, did it? I mean, it was. But yeah, I cannot fathom how. Yeah.
Does anyone know what that celebration was about? You found out, Jono?
Hey, well, I've been checking TikTok and I'm not seeing anything yet. So, I mean, hey, but I tell you what, do you know what? Matt, that shows the balls of the bloke, doesn't it? To come out and he's only a young guy, really, and he's not afraid to come and do something like that, because he's playing with players like Jared Waugh-Hargreaves, Mickey McAlorum, Tom Davis, you know, Joe Bett. They could easily give him a clip round the ear and go, what are you doing? But he commands not the changing room, but he commands the respect of the players because he produces the on-field goods.
It's the player he is. Me and Baz were talking about this actually the other day, weren't we? And about surrounding Mikey with as many good players as possible, because that's where he's really going to learn it. So he's an outstanding talent, and yeah, maybe he is still a little bit rough around the edges in some places, but not many, right? Every time I see him, he looks a little bit more polished every time I see him. You know, you put some more of the marquee Aussie signings around him, and the stuff that he'll learn from them over the next few years will be like proper transformational. I'm glad to see him back though as well. I was actually gutted for you when Mikey was when he picked up his head knock, because we had Danny Richardson on loan at the time, who was playing really well for us, and as luck transpired, when Mikey went off, Danny came back, and then he's done now, isn't he? I don't know how long he's out for, but
he's out for
us.
Yeah, he's out for pretty much the season. It was 12 weeks. So
I'd have loved to take him. I'd have kept him all season. I thought he was mint for us the 2 games he played, and then we ended up bringing Ollie Russell in, who's been mint for us as well. But he's gone back to Wakefield now, or he was in the squad anyway the other day for Wakefield. So I'd have loved to keep Danny Richardson. I thought he had a couple of good games for us when he was over with us.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, I tell you what. Obviously, an outside looking in, we've got the Ashes coming up. I mean, Sean Wayne seems to be hell bent on George William. He's like, he could literally be in a wheelchair and he'll be rolling out against Australia. Like, there's no, like, it don't matter what his form is or anything. George Williams playing. Obviously, the big question mark is then his partner, Harry Smith, of course, at Wigan, who's you know, like, let's be honest, he's a good he's a good player. But the big question mark is it Smith or is it Lewis? Because we've seen previously in when we played Samoa, Lewis was coming off the bench. I mean, he went to hooker, which seems... Don't get me wrong, I know International Rugby League is a different game, but I can't imagine Lewis going to hooker again against Australia. Or maybe we will, because this team seems to have been it almost picks itself because of Shaun Wane. Like the team is just what it is, and I don't know if that's worrying me because I think Mikey Lewis would be better off in the halves with that flair, unpredictability, speed to complement Williams, who is a bit more organising. But to be fair as well, Williams does still have that off-the-cuff rugby league brain. I don't know. What do you see it as Matt, going into their Matches series where who will play in them key positions?
It's really it's mega tough, isn't it, in those positions? I think it's really slim pickings, and I think you've probably mentioned there probably three in the top sort of 5 or 10 in the Super League in terms of ability. Williams does have a knack of getting into the team, doesn't he?
Well, he's doing all the promo, and he's the poster boy for it. So you can't imagine him, unless he has a season-ending injury, that he's not playing, because he was at Tower Bridge doing a picture where he's kicking the ball over. So there's no way that he's not playing unless he's not fit. Yeah,
it's how you marry him up with Smith with the boots, isn't it? Because they've both got an all right boot, haven't they? But then again, Mikey has as well, hasn't he? He can put a kick up, can't he? And when you see him on last tackle, and you see him practicing before the game, don't you? How he puts the ball up and it goes up exactly the same way and down every time. It's a really tough call, that one, isn't it? I feel like Mikey's going to miss out, and I feel like it'll be a travesty if he does. And I feel like that's because of what you just said, Jono, about the team sort of picking itself, and maybe that is down to the head coaches and having players in there that are familiar to him, having the run out for the last World Cup and the like. But yeah, I'd hate for Mikey to miss out. But do you play him?
I think the biggest problem,
best position, is it?
No, and I think the biggest problem, what goes against Mikey, is that he's not a left foot kicker, and not the new thing, but the coaches want a left kicker on the left and they want a right foot, because obviously if Mikey goes to that side, he's got to check back every time to make the kick. Yeah. And that is what the coaches, because it goes against your normal momentum. But if Lewis comes on at hooker, he has that chaos factor. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of time to go before then. I tell you what, Bazza, what was good about the Catalan game as well is the amount of minutes that was given to Bill Leyland. 37 minutes he got. Mickey McAlorum, of course, started and finished the game. But it was good to see that Leyland was trusted and not just coming on and playing 10 minutes. He was given a good opportunity to stake a claim, because I think there's a real play. I think his progression's been accelerated this season. He's probably played more games, more minutes than he thought, especially on the back of that ACL injury he suffered at London. But he doesn't really let us down, does he? He's look at what he does when he comes onto the pitch.
No, and I think a lot of that's to do with Willie Peters and the coaching staff managing him correctly, especially after a long injury. They're not just throwing him in at the deep end against a Warrington or a Wigan. They're playing him at the right time in the right games. And of course, it was kind of out of Willie Peters' hands against Catalan with Jez being out, but it didn't let us down, and he's growing more and more into games and getting more minutes. And we are actually seeing the benefits of it now, that he's spending more time playing with the squad in a competitive environment. And you can physically see the progression of Bill Leyland now going into the Salford game. I'm not the coach, but I think I'd like to start him in the Salford game as well, just to see how he goes, because, again, he's getting better and better, and there may come a time at the business end we may need him. And if he's got the minutes under his belts, he'll be ready for it. So he is progressing really nicely. And again, next year, I think we'll see a better version of him.
Yeah, and then really quickly, Bazza, before we move on to Salford, there was a bit of pressure on the Robins. The players probably didn't feel it or realise it. But, of course, the fact that Wigan had lost to that lot meant that they had a chance to build up a lead. So whether they was aware of it or not, it presented itself, that Saturday presented itself with a great opportunity for the Robins to then extend the lead at the top of the table.
Yeah, well, they will have known about it. I think Willie Peters commented, didn't he, in the post-match. A couple of players was keeping tabs on it. And I'm glad they didn't well, I'm glad they played their own game and didn't feel the pressure, because the last time Wigan got beat was against Wakefield and we had the opportunity to go 6 points clear, but unfortunately it wasn't the time for us to do that. So I'm glad, well, I say they didn't focus on that game. They just played their own game and the rest took care of itself. Everything panned out quite nicely for us. What I am sick of hearing is that them lot have done us a favour. They haven't done us a favour.
No, I'm embracing it. I'm loving it. I want Rovers to win the Challenge Cup, and I want us to win the League Leaders, and I want us to win the Grand Final on them beating Wigan.
Mate, it's crazy
the
because
sweetest victory.
Bloody Elliot Minchella won't play against Catalan. Then, according to the all FC fans, he's had a massive falling out. Is this? Is that?
Is that the same as Reece Martin?
Reece Martin's going back to Leeds. Jez Litton sound for Leeds. Crazy times. Crazy times.
Yeah.
We had the same chat the other day, didn't we? I said to you, Bazza, didn't I? I said, would you, if it come down to the last day of the season and you needed them to beat Wigan for you to win the league leaders, what would you rather? And he said, No, I don't want to win the league leaders. I'm not.
I'd absolutely love it. I'd love it. This is my Kevin Keegan moment. I'd love it if they did that, because I'd just go, yeah.
Hey, mate, we've got the chance to lift the league leaders in front of them, haven't we, at our place?
Yeah.
But I can't see us getting a guard of honour from them, can you?
Well, yeah. Right.
Well, that'll be tasty.
It would be. Right, that's in September. Before we play them lot, though, in September, of course, we've got Salford up next. But before we talk to Matt about the game on Thursday night, I spoke to Steve Till in Robins Revisited. Steve, welcome back to the Robin Pod. Of course, Rovers take on Salford next on Thursday night. Where are you taking us back to this time?
Going back to 1980, we'd won the Cup, and it was the start of the next season. And Rovers' first league game was Salford, and there is the programme. A lot of people say, did you ever go to these matches? Well, there's proof I was there that they brought the programme.
How much was that, Steve?
25p.
Wow, bargain.
I think it's sad now that we don't get programmes.
No.
Everything's
digitised, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got so many really good ones, and they're just bring back the memories, So there you go, 25p, cheap at twice the price. So it was the opening league game of the season, and if I open the programme, at the centre pages, there are the two teams that took part, and you'll notice that if you saw it, that Mick Crane was loose forward for Rovers that day, and it was a strong Salford team that was coached by Alex Murphy. Rovers had won 2 Yorkshire Cup ties prior to this game, beating Wakefield 21-17 and Featherstone 33-12. And Salford also included in the team the former England Rugby Union winger, Keith Fielding. I don't know if many supporters will remember Sporting Superstars, where players from other sports took part in the competition. And Keith Fielding won the Sporting Superstars, which was a real boost for rugby league at the time. Steve Nash was also at scrum half, and Steve Nash had played for Great Britain many a time. He was scrum half for Salford. But as I say, the Rovers pack, which saw David Watkinson playing second row with Ray Price at hooker, came up against a formidable Salford pack with Kevin Ashcroft, Murphy's old teammate, ready to throw a few before the game. But it was an exciting game, and it actually finished 28 points to 20 in Rovers' favour. And what was unusual was that 2 players got a hat-trick. Fielding got a hat-trick for Salford as they threw the ball about willy-nilly. And Phil Hogan did the same for Rovers. So that was an unusual occurrence. Eric Prescott scored Salford's only other try, but Rovers got tries from David Hall, Paul Larkin and Mike Smith. And Phil Hogan made it a real personal success, because as well as scoring the 3 tries, the hat-trick of tries, he also kicked 5 goals. So a remarkable performance. But yeah, so that set Rovers off for the next season after winning the cup against Hull, and that year we ended up winning the Premiership. So a good start to the season, and it was when we were in our when we were at our best in that period, 1980-86.
Matt, welcome back to the stage. Of course, we take on Salford on Thursday night. I think Paul Rowley's he's had a bit of a different approach, hasn't he? He said normally with a break like this would be going through combination plays with the players who be in training. What he's actually done is gone and told the players, go have an holiday, go enjoy time with your family, and you're doing it tough. I need you to come back relaxed and ready for the game. Similar approach to the Robins, because of course they've had a break as well. And if you follow the players on Instagram, I mean, they're doing a tour of the Mediterranean at the moment. We've seen 𝗬𝗲𝗏 in Mykonos, Rhys Martin and Tanganoa in Sicily, Joe Burgess in Ibiza, Mikey Lewis in Calidor, Jai Whitbread in Monaco, Sam Luckley in Barcelona. So they've fully embraced the opportunity to have a holiday. And no doubt the Salford players will. Will that be a benefit, do you think, Matt? Do they deserve it? Do they need it?
The players who are left absolutely deserve a bit of a break. That's kind of what I'll say on what I said about effort and stuff like 100%. That earlier in the season versus where we are now. I mean, you know, they left it all out on the field against Castleford, as they did against Warrington the previous week. And yeah, I think for me, I think that Leeds game the last time out was a real toughie, and we knew we had a bit of a run of games coming up. Like I said, we've got a little bit favourable run of fixtures in early September, but the next month is really difficult in terms of who we're playing and where we're playing them as well. Or one or the other in whichever. But I think, yeah, given where the effort of the players has been over the last couple of months and some of the performances in the last few weeks or the last month or so, yeah, absolutely, the lads deserve a break. I saw Chris Hankinson was somewhere in the world, so I knew that they'd been given a bit of time off to go and spend some time with the families and stuff like that. It's all come at probably an okay time for us to break, to be honest with you. Probably. Yeah, I think it's come at an all right time, actually. I think after that Leeds game, I think it's just a bit of R&R needed before we play you boys, and then we welcome your neighbours after that. So yeah, a bit of a whole sandwich going on at the moment. But yeah, I'm hoping the lads are looking more sprightly and rested for the break that they've had. Yeah,
and to be fair as well, you know, like you said, Matt, a lot of these players are having to do a lot bigger minutes, having to play a lot more than that they would be expected to do because of the number of players who've had to depart. So, you know, the squad, and so it's a time, isn't it, probably to look after the senior players who've stuck around, well, not stuck around, who were there because they can't change. But, so... 100%. What do you think that might translate into on Thursday night, though? Do you expect that to be a rejuvenated Salford side or a Salford side who will maybe, instead of running at 70%, they might be running at 90% this time?
Yeah, hopefully. I think so. And you hit the nail on the head then about older players being asked to play big minutes. You know, you've got Chris Hill, 37-year-old, playing 2/3, 3/4 of a game every week. You got Jack Almondroyd, 33. He's played 80 minutes a couple of times this season. You know, the sort of the right side to still be considered of an age for a forward, but you know they're no spring chickens anymore. But I tell you what, they're running the blood to water absolutely every week. Well,
I tell you what as well, Shaun Wane with Chris Hill, he's playing his way into the Ashes test. If you go what he's done previously,
he can't, can he? At 37, surely he can't. Can he? He can't make it. Can he? He can't. We keep having a joke about this. He surely not. Look, I'd love to see it. I think, to be fair, I was a bit unsure when I saw the signing of Chris Hill at the start of the season, but actually, as it's worked out with players departing and in playing a bigger role in the centre, in the forwards, it's worked out. It's actually worked out really well for me. A similar signing, Jono, was around like when we signed Easton Masters, because we had Tim Lafai and then McDonald at the time, and you kind of go in, well, where's Masters going to play again? As the clear out would have it throughout the season, Masters has probably become one of the more senior players and one of the more established and experienced players in the team. I think it's going to be a real test for us Thursday night, without understating it. I think we'll see, hopefully, players who are more rejuvenated and ready for a game. I think it's going to be a really tough night. I think it might be a little bit of a tough watch as well. It's for me, it's all about how we come out after the first ball's kicked and after half time. If you saw the way we performed against Leeds, that first half was really, really tight, and in the second half we came out and we just fell to pieces straight away. And to me, the first 5-10 minutes of each half are probably going to help us establish how we're going to play the game over the course of that 80 minutes, and how much we allow you guys to run at us for that time. So I think that's going to be really key. I think we need more of the ball, I think, is the bottom line. In that first 10 minutes of each of those halves, we need to try and make KR's defence work. The more we can keep KR on defence, the more we'll wear them down. But yeah, I think you guys will be a little bit too much for us, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, Bazza, obviously the players are being afforded this luxury, and it's not really luxury because I think they do deserve this opportunity. So, for me, interesting as well, Bazza, it's not just the players. It's all the backroom staff. Not even like when I talk about backroom staff, the coaches and physios. It's the people who are doing all the work, off field as well. If you think about our run from pre-season when we went to Amsterdam, and previous to that went to Tenerife. So we're on Tenerife, gone to Amsterdam. We then had the start of the season. We've played every single game that we can play up until now. So it's not just the players and coaching staff who need a rest. I think the club needs a rest. The people are just doing everything. And I think what it'll be is you go away, have your break, have a rest. Boom, we're going for now. That's it. Cut off point. And I think Salford might be a lamb to the slaughter because I think these players and club officials have been trusted. Boom, we're going full pelt now. There's no more rest. You're playing to the end of the season and you're going for it. The other side of it is, though, Bazza, you've been on holiday. I don't know about you. When I come off holiday, I feel like I need another one. I don't come back feeling rejuvenated and refreshed. I feel like I need another week just to recuperate.
Oh, man, absolutely. I mean, seeing what some of the boys have been doing on Instagram, it looks like they are going to need a week to recover. You know what I mean? Big Jared on the quads up and down the beach and whatnot. But no, I think overall, I think it'll be good for both sides. Like from a Salford perspective, just to switch off mentally from all the bad press they've been getting, and in a way, for us to switch off mentally, we had a bit of a bump in the road, a couple of defeats, bit leggy, tired, no breaks. So again, it's for our boys to switch off mentally as well as physically, because they're human. They've got families, they've got lives away from KR, away from rugby, and I still think it will be all or nothing when we go back. I can't imagine KR throwing everything into the Salford and Castleford game. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit like the start of the season when we played Castleford and Wakefield. The teams there will look all right, but we'll work our way into the second half of the season. it's come at a right time. The fixtures for us coming up are quite favourable, without showing any disrespect to Salford. I'm hoping to see a lot of fresh bodies from the boys when we come back. But I think they'll be back a little bit early as well, just to get that togetherness as well, because that's one thing what Willie wanted when they went to France, was the boys to be together and reconnect. So yeah, I think overall, mate, I think we are going to see the best of it, because we are in unfamiliar territory at the moment, playing every single game that's available to us, plus like you say, trips to Amsterdam. But it's not just about the players or the coaching staff, but it's about everybody involved with the club, who's like the social media side of things. They get to switch off for a little bit and, you know, have some family time. So I think overall, as a group, players, staff, even board directors, just to get away from everything just for a little bit and then kick on for the second half, I think it'll do us the world of good.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the fear factor for you, Matt, as well, must be the fact it's not just a rejuvenated and rested 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗏 side who are coming to face Salford on Thursday night. 𝗂𝗲𝗏𝗀𝗏 and Elliot Minchella will be back in the side, so that we've got a full spine now going. We saw what we did to Catalan in terms of the side we put out, and there's no reason not to expect the Robins. And for me, what I find really hard, Matt, is not coming across as arrogant and but the players on the pitch are the players on the pitch, and when they click, there's a reason they're top of the league. So, which is what I'm saying is, Matt, it's unnerving territory for us as Robin supporters. We've not, haven't we, Bazza? This isn't a normal position, unless you was old enough to be back in the 80s when Rovers were reigning supreme and knocking off trophies whenever they wanted. For us, like, bear in mind the $1 million, $1 million, bloody hell, already thinking about Las Vegas, £1 million game, wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago. And now we're in a position where we're talking about potentially league leader shield, grand finals. We used to play Salford, and it was a tough, like, every time we went to Salford, you'd almost be like, no matter what the Robins would be doing, it is a tough game. So I don't want it to come across as arrogant, but I do think we should, on paper and with what we've got, Thursday should be a formality. But I don't mean it as a formality. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I get you, mate. I think you know, we've not really talked about the state of the injuries in the Salford squad either. So we've not talked about, you know, Nicarima looks like maybe a season, and I've not seen the latest on him, but he went off with, I think it was a broken arm. Eason Masters went off with a shoulder problem that wasn't only a dislocation. They were waiting for a scan to see if there was any further treatment needed on it, which could be surgery. That's a season ender as well. Yeah. So if you look at that, you know, you bear in mind as well, Ollie Russell went back to 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗏 after we had Richardson from you. So we haven't got anyone at 6 either. Sorry, at 7 either. So it'd be really interesting to see. This could end up being a squad akin to who did we play when we had Brierley at 6? We've had him at 6 a couple of times, but we were really scratch a couple of months ago, to the point we were playing Brierley in the middle, in the halves. Paul Rowley has said, though, that work continues and will continue to be on bringing players in, even on short-term loans for the foreseeable. So I've got absolutely no doubt he's on the blower trying to get players in. It's just
the player pool, though. I was going to say, the player pool is so small, isn't it? The player pool is so small.
It's depleted by injuries as well, isn't it, right? So we could come knocking on your door and say, give us Danny back, but he's out for the season, so that's one player gone. Ollie Russell's obviously gone back to Wakefield for a reason. Otherwise, I feel like they might have let him stay for another 2 weeks and then maybe extend it out for the rest of the season. So I think we're really depleted. And you know, if you look to, if you go back and watch, like, if you've got any spare time, John, go back and watch the Salford Castleford game, because you'll have a great time. But just see how easy it was.
Do you know what? To be fair, I was thinking about what I could do. Once I finished recording this, I thought, you know what? How can I set myself to sleep?
Just
so
go and
yeah,
have a look at how easy
I'm
it
just
was
making a note
to
of that.
get through us, mate. Honestly, when we played them, as easy as every time we had the ball, I thought we were going to score a try. Every time they had the ball, I was very, very, very nervous because there was a couple of really clean breaks through our line. And I feel like, you know, if you've got someone maybe in the second row coming through who can pop through, they might be gone. And
Someone like 𝗪𝗓𝗂𝗧, Bazza. Someone like 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗧.
Someone like that could easily rip us apart.
You know, so yeah, no, I think that's it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens Thursday night. I fully expect a Robins victory. But credit to the and credit to the Salford boys what they've kept doing, because also you know, like if you're at work and you don't know when your next, if you're paid every month and you don't know when your next paycheck is coming, if it's coming, but then also they're telling you probably to say, well, you need to keep playing because if you don't keep playing, you won't get the paycheck. And you're like, well, what kind of pressure that is under? You know, these players have got mortgages, families, lives, you know, and also they've signed contracts in good faith.
Yep.
So it's a terrible situation. And we saw what happened with Toronto, you know, how that all then unravelled and unfolded. And there's still players now from the Toronto days who are still owed money. They're never going to get that back. And we don't want that situation with Salford. And it just
feels like we're going down that route as well, doesn't it? And it's unfortunate. But what I will say, because I've not really voiced it over while we've been on, is how immensely proud I am of the lads who are turning up and putting in a shift at the moment. Because I could reel off 15, 16, 17, maybe more players who've just been absolute ever present, who, when they've been asked, have been the first ones to put their hand up and say they're going to play. We've had some players coming through out of the academy, the likes of Samuel, who's took his chance, Nathan Connell, took his chance. We've got Declan Murphy come through from sevens. He's taking his chance. He looks like a player. So players are there. They're hungry to play. We just need to treat them with a bit of love and respect, because that's the thing that they ain't getting at the moment. And that's the thing that will mean that they walk away at the end of the season and go and join somewhere else, or whether we show them a bit of respect, have those conversations and try and build for next season. What will enable that, though, is knowing where on earth we're going to be playing next season.
Yeah. And Bazza, I mean, of course, all the Robins will be going on Thursday night to Salford to cheer on the Robins. Whatever the result, you know, like Matt said, we need to show them respect and praise them players for what they're doing, regardless of the result, because they are putting the bodies on the line without knowing what tomorrow is. That's the reality of it. They don't know tomorrow, but they're there getting smashed and doing whatever they can.
And that's it, mate. And then anybody who can go out on the field and put the body on the line, like you've just said, you don't know what's coming, like the week later or whatever, they deserve respect, because I think they're past the point of just playing for the sake of playing. I think these boys are playing for the love of the game and for the love of the shirt as well. So that earns respect, mate, because we've been in them dark days where we've had our club's been in a little bit of financial trouble, but our boys have still turned out. I mean, I'm going back a few years now, so no credit to them, mate, and credit where credit's due. As for Thursday, sometimes, as much I want to see my team win week in, week out, and I want to see them do a professional job. I might get a few pellets for this, but sometimes when you're pumping teams 50, 60, whatever nil, sometimes it is a tough watch. But I think what we will do, we'll show Salford the respect they absolutely deserve, and we'll treat it like any other game, like it's a Wigan game or whatever. And we'll go into that game with no complacencies. And I think that's the best level of respect we can show Salford.
Yeah.
Because if you look at an FC who went there not that long ago, they went into that thinking they'd already won. And come half time, it was looking a bit shaky, because Salford, at points in that game, they had the upper hand. And I think that's the difference between us and them, because we will treat Salford as if it's a St Helens, it's a Wigan. Yeah, it might not look pretty on the scoreboard come full time, but that's kind of the job you want from your team, and that's showing.
I love that, Matt, because what Baz is saying is the biggest respect we could pay you is by pumping you 60-0. That's what he's saying, isn't he? that is what. But that is what he's saying. Isn't it? That is ultimately. But I understand the biggest respect is Rovers just play their game, and Salford you match it or you don't. But Rovers they haven't paid. They're not disrespecting you. They're just playing their game, and I think that's what Rovers do. And I think that's what Rovers do against any side. They play their game, and then the opposition. It's up to you to then deal with it. But they won't move away from what they're used to. I'm
just hoping it's an interesting walk back to the car, Bazza. I'm just hoping it's an interesting walk back to the car, mate, afterwards on Thursday night.
Right, we don't know the squad news, of course. We're recording this on Sunday night. We're expecting the Robins to be fully fit. Matt, you're probably expecting Salford. All the players have been afforded a holiday and a rest to be back. We don't know maybe what loan signings might be happening, so we can't speculate on that. So we'll see what happens. Of course, if you go into the game on Thursday night, be loud and be proud. Back the Robins, and we'll see what happens. Sad news, though, Matt. We saw Ray French, a guy who seems to have been like around forever. I remember Ray French, MBE, who's, of course, sadly passed away. When you used to watch the Challenge Cup on a Sunday afternoon on BBC Two, he's just his voice. And of course, I was quite naive to the fact that not only was he a great rugby league commentator, he had a great career in rugby league as a player, a coach, off field. Like, if there was somebody who probably who symbolised rugby league and living rugby league and being Mr. Rugby League, Ray French was that man.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think he was born in St Helens. I think he played for St Helens as well, didn't he, Ray French?
Yeah, he did.
But yes, it's absolutely synonymous with the Challenge Cup and pretty much being the voice of the Challenge Cup and the voice of rugby league on BBC. And he'll be greatly missed. But yeah, I think phenomenal career from what I've seen on and off the mic. And yeah, he'll be greatly missed.
Yeah, I mean, Baz, he soundtracked rugby league in terms of commentary. There's, so many games. And what I always found Ray French was really good at, even the most boring games, he made sound exciting. And that was his skill, just because of his voice, his enthusiasm. So you could be watching the most, boring Challenge Cup game, but the way he spoke about it made you excited. You wanted to watch it.
And that's what we need in the game, John. That's what we will miss. That enthusiasm, be at the mic to really G the game up. It could be compared to the English version of 𝗲𝗁 from Aussie. And he had that much love for the game. And again, he had a bit of a decorated career. I'm sure he was quite well known and well respected in Widnes as well back in the day from his playing days. But no, he will be missed. He is the voice of rugby league, and like many folk, especially older folk, will remember him from the Challenge Cup days and the enthusiasm he brought to our screens.
Yeah, I remember when I spoke to Matt Newsom prior to the Challenge Cup final. He was on the Robin pod, and we talk about Eddie Waring, and we talk about Ray French. We talk about obviously Mike and Steve on Sky Sport. There's a longevity in commentators.
And now we've got John Wells.
John Wells, yeah. Do you know what? I don't mind John Wells. I think he's better for being the analyst than he is being the. Anyway, we digress. So, Bazza, no Amsterdam Challenge in 2027. Of course, the Robins are going to Las Vegas. They're going to Tenerife. What we'll do it just don't fit into the calendar. Of course, I think a lot of people won't forget, or might forget, the P&O sponsorship deal that got cancelled. There's no doubt that must have played a massive factor. The fact that when Dutch tourists, European tourists come on the ferry, where do they go? They go to Hull or they go to York. And it just so happens that Rovers are going to play York and Amsterdam. There must have been synergy in that. They reckon they're going to go back in 2028. No, not 2020, 2027. We'll see where that goes. What's probably going a bit under the radar is because what Rovers are good at is going through the processes, and they keep repeating. Well, there's going to be a bit of disruption, isn't there? Because, of course, Coldplay are playing at Craven Park. Not only are they playing at Craven Park, they are doing their full set, what they're doing at Wembley. It's their full show. It feels like it's a rehearsal for Wembley, but that means Craven Park is going to be out of action for a good number of weeks. So Rovers relocating to Bishop Bayton College. Craven Street's relocating, so when we play Castleford, the Craven Street's going to be behind the East Stand, so that's going to be a bit different. And it's maybe probably gone under a little bit the radar. Like, it is a big change. Like, these players know where to go training every week. They know where the lockers are. They know where they go to foot. They know and like, we're creatures of comfort, aren't we, as humans? We like knowing. Like, we're lazy, aren't we? We know, like, we like stuff where it is. So when you move that, it causes a bit of anxiety. It causes a bit of disruption. And some people react positively to it because they embrace the challenge. Other people can use it as an excuse. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting time.
I personally don't think it'll affect us. I think we're prepared for this, and I think we're professional enough for this because, like Catalan, for example, we went out to France. We did pre-season there. That's a little bit different to our normal routine. Even the Challenge Cup semi-final, we went out and did our captain's run or a couple of training sessions at the Yorks ground. So I think we are prepared for things like that, and we can cope with things like that. And like Wembley, we had a training session out in London, so I don't think it'll affect us. Sometimes a change of scenery is as good as a rest, so it might keep the boys right. I can't see it personally causing any adversity amongst our routines because these boys are professional enough. You give them a ball, you chuck them on the field, they're happy as long as they're together. You know what I mean? It's a lot of mates playing together, doing what they love. So I can't see it causing any disruption. I think the only disruption we will get, maybe we might get one or two fans more in that Craven Street's a little bit more cramped, but that might be it for me. I think we'll be all right, mate. I can't see it affecting the programme too much.
No. And you know what? It'd be such a money spinner for the Robins, like in terms of having this, the exposure. I think, Matt. I mean, I'm not a fan. I don't know who your music preferences are, whether you're a Coldplay fan or whoever. But what you can't deny is Coldplay are like one of the biggest bands in the world. So if you imagine like all the exposure that's going to go on to what they're playing at Craven Park. What's that? It's a rugby league stadium. It's a
mega.
You know, it's huge, isn't it? It's just huge exposure.
So absolutely mega. Because I didn't even realise they were doing stuff like that down at Craven Park, and I think that's the kind of stuff, though, isn't it? I mean, IMG aside, right? When we talk about rugby league, it's stuff like that is really the enabler for some of the other things that will happen in and around Craven Park. And you know, you're talking about things that will fuel redevelopment and regeneration of areas and stuff like that, aren't you? And I think there's plans to redevelop parts of Craven Park already, isn't there? So, you know, any sort of income that comes in that way and goes into the redevelopment of it, it's fantastic, isn't it? The bigger and better acts that you can get there and bringing in more money, you know, long may it continue.
Yeah. Was you there, Basil, when Rod Stewart was there?
No, mate. I was quite fortunate enough to miss Rod Stewart. And no one there for Little Mix as well.
You were worried about you missed Little Mix, though, weren't you?
Certainly not.
Right, that brings us on to, like I said, I tell you what, everyone who listens to this, the Roaring Pod who's watching on YouTube, who's listening to it on podcast, like I said to Bazza and Matt, the aim is to do this in an hour. Guess what? It's gone over an hour already, and we haven't done question time. It's just, we need to get better control. That brings us, though, to question time. Matt, we invite the Robin supporters to pose questions to us from the sublime to the ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, most of them are pretty relevant to Hull Kingston Rovers. Glenn Lilly on Instagram, Bazza, he says, thoughts on recruitment. Most reports you'll read say Rovers are done with recruitment for next season after Jack Charles probably arrives. We've probably not really spoke much about Jack Charles. Do we not use the added quota spots? I know it comes down to salary cap space, but I don't think we are finished yet.
For me, Rovers like to pull one out of the bag. I think Rovers may do it a little bit different next year, because how many times have we seen clubs, including ourselves, pick up injuries through the season, and the player that we want, we can't sign? For example, this year, Tom Amon, because we've got no quota spots. So I won't be surprised if we actually save a quota spot running into 26, just in case we've got that little bit of a cushion where we need to bring someone in 2 or 3 months in if we have an injury crisis. I think our recruitment is pretty 90% done. We've signed a few young kids to bring the age of the squad down and develop them, but I wouldn't be surprised if we signed the odd 1 or 2 out of the blue. I mean, I've heard a rumour today, I don't know if it's worth repeating on here, but Danny Levi's name's been thrown about again. Whether there's any truth in that, I can't confirm it or deny it, but for me, I'm more than comfortable going into next year with what we've got, and if we bring anybody else in, if we've got quota spots and they're needed, then yeah, that'll be welcome. But I think we are pretty much done. I think we'll be looking at 2027 now, because the way Lakin thinks and plans, he's a year or 2 in front of the rest of them, aren't they? So I think we're pretty much done.
Yeah, I mean, next season we've got Reece Martin, Celso Su, 𝗬𝗂𝗡𝗂𝗏, Petticoat, all out of contract next season. It does feel like, though, Matt, I was thinking about this. It feels like Rovers have been sold under the bridge a little bit by getting their house in order early, by doing good recruitment, maxing out the salary cap in preparation for next season, and then Super League says, "Oh, by the way, you can bring in additional players," and the Rovers are like, "Well, we've already, because of we're well prepared and planned, and now they've got no room to manoeuvre because, well, they've already committed to," which is, I'm sure, look, they won't moan about it because they're happy with who they've got, but it feels like this is, so when we talked earlier about the governance of the game, it's just bonkers, isn't it? Like, this
Absolutely.
is just comes in.
It's where I was going, and it comes back to the conversation that we're at the end of July, and that we're talking next season about whether it's going to be 12 or 14 teams, and it's the same thing with the 10 quota spots. That's a conversation that happens ahead of the 2025 season. As your enablement for your 2026 season, you implement that 12 months later, and it's exactly the same conversation with 12 or 14 teams. Why are we talking about that 2/3 of the way through the current season? Like, that should have been done and dusted. Just on that as well, though, by the way, John, the RFL in January came out and categorically denied they would go to 14 teams next season. They said, we will not go to 14 teams before the end of 2026. So it comes back to that same thing around governance again, doesn't it? Around why we're only having this conversation 2/3 of the way through the current season ahead of next season. It's just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah. I tell you what, Bazza, I bet you listened to Ludacris, didn't you?
Oh, mate, no.
I bet you did. I guarantee. I bet you did. That's one for the middle-aged viewers, listeners. That one. Right, Gary Lee, who's a regular on the Robin Pod, he says, "I'm not a fan of wearing rugby or football shirts while on holiday. Are you a fan of the Rovers towel?"
Yeah, I tell you what, I won't lie to you. I had a little nosy on Facebook earlier at some of the questions.
So you have done some prep, haven't you?
Yeah, and I saw Gary's question, and he's a regular on the Robin Pod. If it's the right Gary I'm thinking of,
it is.
And I actually looked at that, and I thought, I don't think I own anything other than Rovers merchandise. I have 2 or 3 towels out when I'm away in Turkey, and I live and die in my Rovers vest, my Rovers tops. So, yeah, unfortunately, Gary, I've got my Rovers tops on all the time, and yeah, I do wear them with sliders. Not at the airport, though, but yeah.
Well,
I'm always in my Rovers gear.
Because he says also, I also think one shouldn't wear shirts and flip-flops on a plane, which is, well, these etiquette, although it's been eroded through Ryanair, Jet2. Jet2 is now the theme song for everybody's summer holiday.
Question is, Gary, one back to you for next time you're on the pod. Are the players allowed to wear the Rovers tops when they're going on the plane to France, kid?
Yeah, 100%. It's really weird. I've just looked at the post I put out on Facebook, and then Neil Soden. I'd love you to put some context because he's just put Lachlan Cooper would be my choice. I've got no idea what that would be. I don't even know what that reference.
I think he's replying to Pete Barley at the top end because he says if you could bring back one former Rovers.
Oh yes, right, great question.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'm glad the guests are on point rather than the actual host. Yeah, Pete Barley says if you could bring back one former Rovers player in their prime to improve the current team, who would it be? And what's your favourite? God, I don't know. What's your favourite 𝗀𝗂𝗏 game day memory from Craven Park? Let's split that into two. Let's go with who you'd bring back. Who would you bring back, Baz? I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it?
I actually had this conversation with him on the blower not long before we started this.
How much prep have you been doing for this?
Well, I kept telling myself Benny Gallier or Clint Newton, but would they get in our second row? So I think the only one I could go with in their prime would have to be Mick Vella. It was outstanding. Now, if you want to go to the most memorable game at Craven Park, and no, it wasn't the £1 million game, Matt, unfortunately. Sorry about that. For me, it'd have to be either our first game in Super League against Wakefield, because that was one hell of an occasion with Benny Cockayne going in at the end. That was incredible. It was either that or our game in the Championship when we knocked out Warrington. It was a try-fest, that game. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. It's really hard because obviously, like, we're talking of our age, and there'll be lots of people who will be listening to this who'll go, or watching this going, oh, well, what about this? But it's like, well, but I wasn't born. I didn't see it. I can't. Like, for me, one of the most special moments was when Webster scored the drop goal, 11-10, against that lot in the howling rain. I was in the golf stand, and it was the most...
That was Good Friday, that. I think we had all seasons in 80 minutes, didn't we?
Yeah.
Snow, hailstorm, sun, rain, everything.
I tell you what, there's one player who I'd bring back into this side who I think could do a great job. Maybe it's tempered because of what he went on to do, but I reckon if we brought Hodgson back at hooker, him and Litton would be a great foil for each other.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
That is a good shout, actually. That's an incredible
look at, because I just look at some of the... It's so hard in it to pick because also if you look at your current team, you look at it and you go, by changing them, you're criticising them, but I just think where we are in the hooker role,
that is a good shout. That is a very, very good shout.
This is a great one, Matt. I don't know if you've ever been to Catalan. It's a health and safety question. Michael Matthews, and I really appreciate the comment and interacting, and of course you're viewing and listening to Robin Pod. As I said earlier, how dangerous is that stand at Catalan? Too steep, no handrails, and high steps.
High and uneven, I think it is.
High and uneven step. Yeah, that's the obviously the traditional way bit at the How dangerous? I don't know.
I don't know. I can't remember it, to be fair.
What, as you was rolling down it?
Yeah. Rolling down a few steps to stop myself. Yeah, but no. To be fair, I've not done the trip to Catalan, so I couldn't comment, mate. But I've not seen it on telly. You'd normally see something like that on telly, wouldn't you? On the feed, you'd see like dead steep, and I've never noticed it.
Dave Johnson, he says, not much talk about it since the season started, but do you think the whole disciplinary point system has been a success? Do you know what? Actually, it's an interesting point in it, Matt, about the point system now. So how they tally up the points. And actually, there's been some spikes where it's bit people at certain times. But actually, I think over the course of the season, I don't know, it seems to be quite a fair way of dealing with it.
Yeah, I think as the season's gone on, it's become more established and it's a little bit more predictable, isn't it? You know what's going to the match review panel and you know where points are coming out of it. I think at the start of the season, it felt like random acts of violence, and there was a couple of weeks we played Leeds dead early on, and I remember Joe Shorrock's getting sin-binned for a tackle that put Brodie Croft out with an HIA, and maybe, but it was there was just stuff like that early on in the season where maybe a little bit dubious. I think as the season's gone on, I think the one thing it has proved, Jono, is that we're probably seeing the best players on the pitch most of the time. I think it's keeping players on the pitch, and it's keeping the best talent in Super League out on the pitch. I think more than it's hindering and more than it's leaving players on the sidelines out serving bans. So I think it's probably worked out for the best. It was a proper mouthful to try and get round at the start of the season, but I think as the season's gone on, it's become a little bit more familiar, and we know where bans are coming in and why they're coming in from players starting up for the last 12 months and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's becoming a little bit more familiar and a little bit easier to recognise.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, to try and praise 𝗲𝗏 at times, but actually I do think it's a system that will stand the test of time, because it's then built on, basically it's built on what the players do, like ultimately. And also we haven't seen any really, every player who gets a long ban is ultimately deserving of it based on the points system. Rob Coles, great to see you tuning in, Rob. He says, what position do you think the club will look to strengthen next year? Looks like we're getting the half from them. Jack Charles, I think he'll still be understudy anyway. I think we'll be looking for quality replacements for Maka with Leyland. Yeah, McAlarum with Leyland still keeping that third choice hooker role. I think the plan always was, Baz, wasn't it? Leyland to give him a season sort of in and out of the side, getting back to full speed. Jesliton takes on the starting hooker role of most important, and then Leyland playing that supporting role. I've seen nothing to suggest that's what happened.
No, you're right. And they're both very attack-minded hookers.
Yeah, I love Leyland. He goes, doesn't he? He's
off.
He
really does. I think with Mickey Mack going, I think we will lose a little bit of robustness in the middle. Whether we do bring in another hooker, we'll have to wait and see. But if there was going to look at anywhere, I dare say it may be the hooking role. But again, that's only down to what Willie Peters and the coaching staff, if they feel Bill Leyland's ready to take the next step and be a regular number 9 week in, week out, if he's up to the job. But again, that'll be on their decision. But so far, it's looking like it could be, yeah.
Yeah, and Sean Michael, great to see you listening, Sean, of course. He says, whether prematurely or at the end of the contract, Peters will depart to test himself in the NRL. He has been a revelation. Thoughts on promoting from within? Most would prefer someone at the helm who's already indoctrinated in the KR way. Obviously, we've got Sean Kenny Dowell, Danny Ward, or elsewhere. I mean, what the Robins are good at is continuation planning, and you know, things don't happen by accident; they happen for a reason. So you'd imagine that maybe he got an eye on who's next, but the talk from Woody Peters is, I'm seeing at my contract, which he of course extended.
Yeah,
there's no reason to think that he won't.
No, absolutely. And I think on the other podcast, when his agent come out and made that statement, my days, why?
Well, I was dirty about that, because I was thinking,
I know
that's
you
not
are
a journalist saying it.
Yeah,
that's his
managing
him.
How I look at it with Willie is, if he turned around and said that he's going home tomorrow, next week, obviously I'm going to be devastated, but he'd get nothing but my best wishes, because you know, it's my 40th birthday next week. So for most of my life, I've been KR through and through, and he's ended a 40-year of hate by bringing us silverware, and we've took a club to a new direction, a place it's never been before. So it'd only be my best wishes. As for bringing a coach within, I would have said a good shout would be Danny Ward, but until listening to the On the Bench podcast as to where he lives, would he want that role, you know, because him and his family's down south. But again, after listening to that Steve McNamara exclusive the other week, I actually, listening to how Steve speaks, I actually sat there and thought he could be a very, very good long-term replacement if Willie did decide to go in the next year or two. I'm not saying he will, I'm not saying he won't, but, you know, an opportunity to go on big money, you know, it would turn that down. I think I'd like to see Stevie Mack come in if Danny Ward wasn't prepared to take the job on full time. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't even want to think about it. Willie Peters is here, he's doing a job. We've still got a title to play for, and that's all I'm looking at.
Would you be happy, Matt, after 40 years if your Willie left?
If you'd brought the level of success that he has to my club, then probably. I mean, look, he's on course to lift, probably take 2 trophies this season with 1 still to play for. Well, 2 still to play for, but on course for 2, right? So, yeah, absolutely.
You can tell you're a pro, Matt, because you didn't even take the bait then, did you? You just answered it like a pro. He answered it like...
Well, our wait's even longer, isn't it? Because I think it's 1975 for us. So it wasn't even since 1985. So yeah, it's even longer of her for us. But yeah, I'd let him ride off into the sunset if he'd brought a first major trophy, definitely.
Yeah, big question, I suppose, and we'll never know until it happens. Pat O'Connery says, Finken and Bazza next season, do we think we will cope with Vegas, as we have seen Warrington and Wigan struggle slightly after playing this season? We don't know if that is the fact why Wigan and Warrington aren't necessarily firing all. Who knows?
It's all about coaches, and we've seen a wobble from Wigan. Again, we don't know what goes on at Wigan. I know Warrington have had a couple of off-field issues. They've had a torrid time with injuries. Has that got to do with Vegas? I don't know. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You can't use a week away in America for turning your season upside down. Yeah, it might disrupt it, but I dare say after 2 or 3 weeks, you're back on the horse, back to your routine. So I don't think it'll disrupt us too much. And the way Willie goes about his business, I don't think he'd allow the players to go out of control in Vegas anyway. I think they'd keep it as professional as possible, to be fair, mate. So I think we'll be all right, to be honest with you.
It's a bit chalky. Can I just bob in there, mate? It's a bit chalky.
Yeah, go for it.
I saw this question before, and it's not really akin, is it, to where KR as a team? If you look at Warrington and Wigan over their recruitment hasn't been great over the last 12 months. I think did Wigan only bring in the lad from Oldham? I think in the last off season. Yeah. I don't think Warrington's recruitment were great either. I think that's why they were tapping into us halfway through the season when players were starting to become available. I think it's apples and oranges. This I don't think it'll affect KR the way that it has done with those 2 teams. And I don't think. Do I think Vegas has affected Wigan? I don't actually think it has. I just don't think their recruitment was very good. So I think KR will be fine after a stint in Vegas, even coming back from that. I think they'll be right.
It almost feels like every obstacle Rovers come up against, it galvanises them. It makes them it propels them. It don't weaken them. It propels them. And I think they're on that cusp of the wave, which we all know with waves, it does come down. But they're on the cusp now where everything's just forward momentum, pushing them forward. It's energising but yeah. We'll see. I'll tell you what, Matt, what a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on the Robin. No, it's great to get your... Yeah, and of course, on Thursday night, I'm sure there'll be plenty of Robin supporters heading over down the M62, which is almost the most enjoyable journey of the season, isn't it? But
Thursday night,
Thursday night rugby league. But no, it's going to be a great night for everyone who's there. And of course, we hope that the Robins come and prevail with a victory. And I hope that we show total respect to Salford for their players and what they're doing. And of course, the supporters, because the supporters are turning up knowing there's not much to really hope for other than grit, determination, a great showing, and the scoreline is almost secondary. So I hope we pay full respect to that. Bazza, you'll be going down in your wagon, won't you? You'll be packed up.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping to get parked up somewhere on the M62 corridor. My mate Pete Barley is going to come off the 62, pick me up, and we'll get down to the SCS and Hopefully, got to stand with Matty. You're going down, Jono.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's going to be a great night. School holidays, perfect time. There'll be lots of Robins going. There'll be, it's just good to get back watching the Robins, isn't it? And of course, we hope for a victory. So this has been the Robin Pod. A huge thank you to Matt and for Bazza for joining us. But for now, live, love, laugh and be happy.
Rovers fight as one for every goal and try. Since '85 we've stood our ground, though trophies passed us by. From Craven Park to Wembley Way, with each toe grip we fight. Now we rise, our heads held high, proudly wearing the red and white.
The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are reputable East Hull-based car specialists and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers forever.